Hey guys, we are on, we are live. If you are scrolling through, stop on by. We're talking about the student loan updates, the new changes that were just announced yesterday, September 29th, 2022. So if you are rolling through, come on in the room so we can have a quick chat. It's Friday night, so it's going to be fast. We can see if there's a few people. So they are notifying viewers that we are live. And once again, we are talking about the new student loan update, the new changes that were just announced by Biden yesterday, September 29th. So please come on in the room. You'll be able to ask a few questions if you have any. And if I don't know the answer, I will do my best to find out for you. Come on in the room, guys. Go ahead and if you could like the broadcast, that would be great. Go ahead and follow. That would also be awesome. If you're just coming in the room, we're talking about student loan changes. So the student loan updates that were just announced yesterday. How's everybody's week? Hope it was a good week for you guys. It went fast because, this is the end of Supernatural September. So we are rolling into October. Come on in the room. We'll be talking about student loan updates. So the student loans update changes that were just announced yesterday. All right, I don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're talking about the changes for the student loan debt plan that Biden announced initially was around August 22nd. So what happened is really that now the plan will exclude millions of borrowers. So they will not be able to receive either the $10,000 or the $20,000 if you were a Pell Grant recipient. Because remember, there were certain income limits as well. So if you were single, you had to make less than $125,000. And if you were married, then you had to make less than $250,000. And then remember, we had talked about previously that it was based on your adjusted gross income. So after they take out 401k and all of those things. So it was based off of that adjusted gross income. And then it was either based on 2020 or 2021. Okay. So we wish there was some kind of explanation for why the Department of Education decided to change the student loan forgiveness plan, this new debt plan that they came up with, but we don't really know. And so they're actually still looking into a few things that we'll get into right now. So we know that they're going to exclude millions of borrowers at this point, probably a little bit over 4 million borrowers, unfortunately. So who is getting excluded? So if you are a borrower that has the FFEL loans or the Perkins loans, and they are privately held, so meaning that they are not held by the Department of Education, unfortunately, you're now excluded. Okay? And so what is the exact change? So remember, initially, it kind of waxed and waned a little bit, to be honest. Okay, we weren't really sure if those borrowers that had FFEL loans and Perkins loans were going to be eligible. Like, we weren't sure were they going to be eligible for public service loan forgiveness. We weren't sure if they were going to be eligible for this new student loan debt plan. But what we found out was that with this new plan, initially, Biden said, hey, if you consolidate your FFEL loans and Perkins loans, your privately held loans into a direct consolidation loan, then you'll be eligible for this one-time debt relief. And so that is the change. So kind of real quietly, all of the headlines are saying, okay, quietly, the Department of Education now has changed it so that if you, and I'm looking at my notes, sorry if that bugs you guys, but so if you have those privately held FFEL loans and those Perkins loans, that you're no longer eligible. So that is the biggest change. So which means they're still trying to figure out, okay, Is there another program that you can actually apply and get some debt relief with privately held FFEL loans and Perkins loans? Or even can you do it without consolidation? But the Department of Education is still researching that. So as of yesterday, September 29, 2022, that is the big student loan update, okay? So if you're asking yourself, how will I know if my FFEL and my Perkins loans are federally or privately held, you have to go to studentaid.gov. So actually go to the federal studentaid.gov website. So the exact website is studentaid.gov, and you go to My Aid. And when you go there, you'll see the list of all of your federal student loans that you have there. And they'll show you your balances and your statuses, everything like that, okay? But when you look there, easy enough, these are all federal loans. These would have been the loans that were paused during the COVID suspension. And also, if the loan does not show up there, it means it's a privately held student loan. So that's how you would know. But if it does show up there, you'll know that, okay, this is the federal website, this is the official website, so I should qualify if my federal loan shows here. But if not, that means you have a privately held FFEL loan or Perkins loan, okay? And then remember the dates that you guys want to remember, because I think that's kind of the hard part for everybody to swallow a little bit, because they're like, okay, the application for this one-time debt relief was supposed to come out in October. So it's still set to come out in October. And then the Department of Education does want you to go ahead and apply by November 15th, because you'd be more likely to be guaranteed your forgiveness by December 31st. So before the new year, before your payments go back into repayment. So please do remember those dates. So October, the beginning of October, the application should come out. November 15th, that's when you want to do your best to have that application in for this one-time student loan debt relief. And then your forgiveness should be done by the time your loans go back into repayment. Okay? So let's see. I really cut everything pretty short. So it looks like somebody has a question. I see my loan in studentaid.gov, but I don't think it's consolidated. I was told if I consolidate, yes. Okay, so that's right. So studentaid.gov, so which means it is federal, so it should count, right? So, but I don't think it's consolidated. So you do want to have your loan consolidated into a direct consolidation loan in order to get that one-time debt relief. That is definitely a requirement. So your payment would increase. Okay, so how much would she was saying that her payment would increase. That is something that we do really have to think about when we consolidate our student loans, because you really have to look at, okay, down the line, because once you consolidate, you can't reverse the process. It's done. So like MSB Gordon, how much would your payment increase? It must be more than you would like to pay over the life of the loan, basically saying. Because that means, though, if you don't consolidate, you wouldn't be able to get the one-time student loan debt relief. And so that would be the question, because also when you consolidate, remember you're consolidating your loan into a whole new loan. It's a whole new loan with also a new interest rate. And sometimes the amount is higher. So you have to really assess, is that appropriate for you? Okay, so you have to consolidate to be eligible for the $20,000. Yeah, from my understanding, you would have to, well, do you have to consolidate for the $20,000? See, like if this is public service loan forgiveness, so the question is do I have to consolidate to be eligible for the $20,000 forgiveness? You know, I may have to look into this for you, because if it's public service loan forgiveness, so PSLF, you do have to go ahead and consolidate your loans into a direct consolidation loan. But if your loan is already a federal loan, something is telling me that you don't actually have to consolidate that. So like before, it was like if you have a private loan The only way you could do it was that you had to consolidate that into a direct consolidation loan for it to be a federally held loan. But yours is already federally held. So I'm thinking that you wouldn't have to consolidate that. But let me double check for you. So payment would double if wow, your payment doubles if consolidated. Wow. And I think that's a lot. A lot of people have to consider that too. So unless you're really close to, let's say, full forgiveness, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? And what will the payment actually be when I consolidate? And so, MSB Gordon, can I ask, so did you called the Department of Education to say, okay, well, if I consolidate, what will my payment be? Is that what you did? So now you're on income-driven payments. Okay. And most people are on an income-driven repayment plan. It's usually a pretty good payment plan to be on. And from what I've heard, they'll, after the first of the year, there'll be even more options for income-driven repayment plans. So yeah, I'd be curious, did you just go ahead and call? I called AES student loan. Okay, so you called your servicer. Okay. So guys, please make note of that. So MSB Gordon is saying that her payment will double if she consolidates her loan. So you have to really assess, is that consolidation worth it for you? Because you will have to pay those double payments if you consolidate and, let's say, aren't close to forgiveness, or, so it's really, you have to look at both sides of the coin. So call either your servicer or the Department of Education to really see, is it worth it for you to consolidate? Tamika, why aren't all loans for school federal loans when it was only for school? All loans for school be federal loans. I understand what you mean. Well, because I guess they really had different programs back then. I don't know if I'm answering this question correctly. I said, why are all student loans considered federal loans? Well, let's say FFEL, for example. So when I was reading about it, at one point, so before 2010, it basically said that some of these FFEL loans were guaranteed by the federal government, but then managed by a private bank. So it's very interesting how they were basically categorized before. But yeah, I understand what you mean. Why aren't they all just federal loans? Because the private loans now are just absorbent. The interest rate on private loans is insane. So I also want to say that if you guys ever have the opportunity to, and it's hard because I know MSB Gordon, we're talking about the consolidation, but sometimes the consolidation is worth it. So if you are a private student loan holder, it could be very beneficial for you to go from a private student loan to a direct consolidation loan. So with public service loan forgiveness, from my understanding, you can still do that at this time. So it might be worth it to look at. But yeah, to me, I don't know why they don't consider all federal loans, all school loans, federal loans. That's a really good question. MSB Gordon. Okay, you're welcome, MSB Gordon. But yeah, I wish I knew, Tamika. I'm not really sure why they delineate between some of these. Because you're shouldn't they just all be federal loans? I agree. Because I'm if you took them out, and I'm everybody needs a little help, right? So everyone should be able to get, the $10,000 forgiven, at least, you would think. Any other questions? I'm trying to think. Let's see what else we did not cover. Let's see. So basically, if anybody's just coming in the room, we are talking about student loan updates as of yesterday. So as of 9/29/22, so borrowers with federal student loans that are not held by the Department of Education are no longer eligible for this one-time student loan debt relief, which, remember, it was $10,000 if you were had regular just federal student loans, and then $20,000 if you were a Pell Grant recipient. So it's been basically quietly changed, because before you could, if you had privately held FFEL loans and Perkins loans, you could in the past go ahead and consolidate those loans into a direct consolidation loan. But for right now, Biden has done away with that. So be mindful of that. You're welcome, Alexia. No problem. Any other questions that you guys have? Because I know this is so new, so it'll probably change who knows how many times. So, I mean, if you guys hear something, so let's say a friend tells you some information, you're like, oh, that's interesting, or you hear it on the news, or thinking that something could really benefit you, you have to act quickly. I really need you guys to act quickly because, that was the caveat that I forgot to tell you. So there are some people who, after they found out, so let's say in the last month, 3 weeks to a month, they found out, oh my gosh, I could consolidate my privately held FFEL loans and Perkins loans if I go and do it now into a direct consolidation loan. If you already applied before the announcement, before yesterday, September 29th, you get one-time debt relief. You are still eligible. So all of those that did not act quickly, unfortunately, because maybe you were still thinking about it, maybe you're still getting your paperwork ready, maybe you're still calling, who knows? But if they did act really quickly before the announcement, they still get their debt relief. Let's see. So wait, do we have to apply for that, or are they giving it to all who qualify? So the student loan forgiveness, that is the new Biden announcement. So this one, there's some caveats really. So if you already have your tax information, so basically your income, if your income is already on file with the Department of Education and they have everything in the computer, then you're good to go. It means that you qualify, but really you'd have to call them to find out. You would want to call the Department of Education to say, do you have everything on file? But most people are going to need to apply, from my understanding. Because it would be nice if just everybody could just qualify, they knock off the $10,000, and then, because afterwards, after they knock off that amount, they call it like re-amortization. They would recalculate your payments and everything, because that means a lot of people's payments will drop, right? Because now the principal balance is lower. So when the beginning of October comes, you want to make sure that you're looking out for the application. And I would really just go ahead and apply. I wouldn't wait for did I qualify and it was automatic? Because then you may kind of miss the deadline. And I don't want you guys to miss the deadline. And so really the best thing you could do right now is that you can go on that website right now, go on studentaid.gov, and you can actually have them alert you when the application goes live. Because I'm sure there'll be I can't even say the word, the website will be inundated. So, because remember what happened on the day of the announcement? Everybody kept saying, everybody and their mom was on the website. It's about to shut down, because everybody really was on there. So you do want to have the alert and be ready to go and have your application in. Okay, no problem, Tamika, no problem. FFEL privately held, meaning commercial. That's correct. That is correct. Who are you tomorrow? Asked. FFEL privately held means commercial. Yes. So like if you were looking around online, yes. So privately held FFEL loans also say commercially held. Yep. And so what I read today was basically about 4 million borrowers have this commercially or privately held FFEL loans. So which means at this time, they're not eligible, at least right now. But remember, this could change. So I don't want you guys to lose hope, because it could change. Just how it did and change this way, it could change, and something could come out to say, okay, we need to provide relief for those privately held, those borrowers who have privately held FFEL loans and Perkins loans, because you guys still need relief. So something could still come out. And the Department of Education still said that they were looking at some additional options though too. So there is still hope. I was trying to see if there were other things that and then you guys do know that the other loans that are still eligible, I know I wrote a few of those down. So like this, so the student loan forgiveness, the $10,000 or the $20,000 if you have Pell Grant, then Parent Plus loans are eligible. So there's federal undergrad loans are eligible, graduate loans are eligible. And so the ones that are not eligible, which is what we've been talking about, FFEL loans and Perkins loans that are privately held. But which this means though too, that if your FFEL loans and Perkins loans are federally held, meaning the Department of Education is overseeing those loans, those would be eligible. But once again, you have to go on studentaid.gov and really look under My Aid to really see. Because if they show up there, federal, that means you should be, from my understanding, you should be okay. So those loans should be eligible. And always, when in doubt, pick up the phone, guys. Pick up the phone and call them, because you're like, look, I got questions and I need answers. Let's see. Ms. B. Gordon. So the question, have you heard about the lawsuit to overturn President Biden's plan to cancel up to $20,000? I did hear about it. I have not read too much into it just yet, because I was kind of looking at what happened just yesterday too. But I did hear about that. I think I saw it on Instagram, actually. A friend of mine did a post about it. And I'm like, insane. And it's almost like the lawsuit may have started the lean in this direction of reversing the forgiveness for these privately held FVL and Perkins loans. Like, I wonder, was that supposed to soften the blow? I'm not really sure. But yeah, I did hear about it. 7 Republican-led states. Yeah, I'm going to have to read about that. Because, yeah, I did hear about it, though. For you guys coming in, we are talking about the new student loan updates. So if you have questions, student loan changes as of yesterday, it says, who are you tomorrow? Says DEN next to my loans. What does that mean? DEN. Who are you tomorrow? I don't know what that means. DEN. So, but you're on studentaid.gov's website, because if you are on there, then it should be a federally held loan. But I'm wondering, what in the world does anybody else out there know what DEN stands for? So it's next to the student loan. I might have to write that down and see if I can find out what that means, because I am not sure. But if you are on the federal website, it's a federally held student loan. And of course, you can always call them too to double check and say, hey, I need to make sure that this loan will be eligible to get some kind of debt relief. But it should be, from my understanding. So you tried to Google it and you were like, I got nothing. I wonder, I'm in my head, I'm trying to make things up. Department of Education, yeah, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I'll look into it and see if I can help figure that out. And then I might have to call the Department of Education myself to see if I can find out. Thank you for the likes, Jason Will. Any other questions? Or if you guys are just coming in, if you know what DEN next to your student loan on the federal studentaid.gov website is, that would be so great. Who are you tomorrow? I was curious because I'm not sure. Hey, who are you tomorrow? Can you tell me, did anything come up when you tried to Google it? Anything that made any kind of sense? Because I would be curious to know. Let's see. You know what? I also wonder what states they've updated that will pay taxes on this forgiveness. So on the $10,000 or the $20,000 for the Pell Grant recipients. Because the last time I checked, it was Arkansas, California, Indiana, Minnesota, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. So those are ones that have said, okay, we're leaning towards having you pay state taxes on this debt relief, but then you would not pay federal taxes. So you'd have to keep that in mind if you were in those locations. Let's see. Trying to see if I have anything else. Oh, this was another big thing, that remember, your loans have to be dispersed before June 30th, 2022. So I don't want you guys to go in thinking that, okay, if I take out loans now, and now we're in October, that these loans would be covered under this one-time debt relief plan. No, at least from my understanding. They would have to be dispersed before June 30th, 2022. Jazz Money Coach says California was pending last time I checked. Okay. Yeah, that was the same. Because I think this was like, because I think came on here maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I have not updated this list yet. So pending makes sense. I appreciate that. Thank you. Because I want to say maybe I only heard truthfully that like Mississippi, I think, had officially confirmed to say, hey, yeah, we want you guys to pay taxes. I don't know why though. The question is why, what for? Freddie Sapon, welcome, welcome. Aguilar, welcome, welcome. We are talking about the student loan update from yesterday. Biden's announcement that privately held FFEL loans and Perkins loans are no longer eligible for this one-time debt relief plan. So which means these loans are not, what is the correct term? Not held by the education department. And so they are no longer eligible for this one-time debt relief plan. Any other questions you guys have? I know it's Friday night. I am fascinated that you guys are hanging out with me on here on TikTok Live talking about student loans at like 11 o'clock on a Friday night. But I appreciate it so much. Let's see. Jazz Money Coach, I have the list of states taxing from Thursday. Oh, that would be great. I'll be right back. Perfect. Okay, so Jazz Money Coach is about to get us the list of the states that will be taxing on this student loan debt relief plan. That would be great because this was, let's see, 2, 3, 4, about 6 or 7 states. So let's see what those updated states are. I'm like, when I mean that this is changing every day, it's changing every day. So once again, if you find yourself in a mode where you think, okay, this new update is super important, it might change the game for me, act fast. I mean fast. Like whirlwind God fast. Act fast. Because I mean, this has changed drastically because I mean, this affects 4 million borrowers in just the last few weeks. So act fast, guys. You find something that will benefit you, act as fast as you can. Call the Department of Education that day and find out the information you need and act fast. Call it like a fire lit under your bum. Go. Mentors to Succeed. Thank you for coming in. Thanks, guys, for the follow and the likes. I really appreciate it so much. And so we're just answering questions on the student loan update and the changes from yesterday. Biden's big announcement about privately held FFEL loans and Perkins loans. Jake Mitz, I only have one loan, last 2019 Parent Plus loan, more than $20,000. Your kid's still in school. Okay, I'm trying to think here. Let's see. So you have one loan that's from 2019. Okay, so the time frame is appropriate because it was dispersed before June 30th. And then Parent Plus loans do count. So more than 20,000, but your kid is still in school. So, okay, so Jake Mintz, so are you paying on this loan right now? Is I guess my first question, because I'm trying to think. Because actually, sometimes because I talk a lot about public service loan forgiveness and the student loan debt relief. So sometimes I have to make sure I'm separating them in my brain. So if I remember correctly, I did read somewhere that if you were in school, let's say you were a student that was in school, you could get your debt relief. You were eligible for debt relief if you were a student in school. And so which means if it's a Parent Plus loan and then your loans are dispersed before June 30th, 2022, and your kid's still in school, I would still think that you would be eligible for this one-time debt relief based on the information that you've given me. So I would so your first action would be to go on studentaid.gov, make sure you sign up for the alerts. So when the application comes out in October, you'll be alerted so you can go ahead and apply. Because I know my parents took out Parent Plus loans too, like maybe about $40,000. So I know it puts you guys in a very interesting situation. But as your kids, we love you guys so much for going above and beyond for us, okay? Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm getting behind in the comments. Whoops, pressing wrong buttons. Tamika, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer must be a true statement. Well, hopefully not forever, Tamika. Hopefully not forever. So I'm so passionate about just financial education and really just making sure the parents are aware, so the kids are aware, and just it's such a need. It's such a great need. Oh, okay. I think Jazz Money is back with the list. Okay, here we go. So Minnesota is a state. So we're clarifying that Minnesota is a state that will be taxing the borrowers on this one-time student loan debt relief. So this is Biden's new announcement. Let's see. New Mexico. I'm like, did I have that written down? I don't think so, but we'll write it down now. So New Mexico. I didn't know about New Mexico. So New Mexico is another state that we're confirming that they will be taxing the borrowers on the amount that they are forgiven for the student loan relief. So $10,000 or $20,000 if you're a Pell Grant recipient. Jakeman, not started. So you have not started repaying the loan yet. From my understanding, that should still be okay. So in regards to this one-time debt relief, $10,000 or $20,000 for Pell Grant, that should not matter. So, which means that, I don't want to get too into the public service loan forgiveness because I'll get you guys off. Get y'all off in the corner over there talking about that. So in regards to just this student loan debt relief, if your child is still in school, you should still be eligible. Your Parent Plus loan should still be eligible to get the student loan debt relief. And then remember, you can always call to double check. Call to double check, go on studentaid.gov, make sure you get your alerts. Jazz Money Coach. Okay, we are in at Minnesota, New Mexico. Okay, we're confirming Indiana. My college roommate was super bummed that Indiana was on this list. She was like, really, Indiana? So Indiana they have an intention to tax the borrowers on this one-time student loan debt relief. Jake Mint, you haven't paid any. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, Jake Mint. Jake Mint was asking about his Parent Plus loan dispersed in 2019. If his child is still in school, and would he be eligible for the one-time student loan debt relief? From my understanding, yes. Jazz Money Coach says, sorry, take New Mexico back. It's okay. It's okay. New Mexico off the list. It's all right. I'm like, Jazz Money Coach, it's changing all the time either way. It's all right. I appreciate your help. Let's see. North Carolina. Okay, North Carolina is a check. Indiana was a check. Minnesota was a check, right? Minnesota, New Mexico, Indiana. Okay, so that's 3. Indiana, Minnesota, New Mexico. Or I'm sorry, not New Mexico. Indiana, Minnesota, North Carolina. Okay, and then Mississippi. Mississippi was quick. They were one of the first ones to say, hey, we're taxing. So that's 4 states. Oh, that's so sweet, Jake Man. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate it. Just became a top 1 viewer. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And good luck with everything. You know where to find me if you have questions. Jazz Money Coach. It's only 4 states so far that have announced a state tax on forgiveness. Okay, Jazz Money Coach, we appreciate you so much. Oh, and I think MSB Gordon just figured out something for, what was it? Was it like Who for Tomorrow? Something like that. But hold on one second. So only 4 states. So thank you, Jazz Money Coach. 4 states that have announced state tax on forgiveness. So hopefully I get these correct. Indiana, Minnesota, Mississippi, and North Carolina. So those 4 states have said, hey, yes, we're going to have state tax on the forgiveness. So the $10,000 or $20,000 if you are a Pell Grant recipient. Okay, and MSB Gordon, so distance, I feel like I may have heard of this. So Distance Education Network. So I think it was, what was it, like Who for Tomorrow, I think, was asking about what does DEN stand for next to his, next to the student loan on their federal studentaid.gov profile. I couldn't think of the word. So once again, he was asking, okay, the DEN, what does that stand for? What does it stand for? So Distance Education Network was next to his student loan on the federalstudentaid.gov website. But remember, if the loan shows up on the federalstudentaid.gov website, it is federally held. So which means it would have been paused during this COVID suspension, and it should be eligible, that means, for forgiveness. So it is federally held and then held by the Department of Education. Okay, perfect, Jasmine Coach. I appreciate it. So Minnesota, Indiana, North Carolina, and Mississippi. So there's state tax on this forgiveness. Thank you, Jasmine Coach, for your help. I appreciate it so much. Let's see. Any forgiveness for loans 20 plus years? Okay, so this is Butler Tammy. So you've had your loan for 20 plus years. So 20 plus years. Okay, so which means, so this loan that means it was dispersed before June 30th. So what kinds of loans, Butler Tammy? Can you tell me just what kinds of loans you have? And man, I'm even thinking, if you've been paying 20 years, I'm almost thinking, like, do you happen to be working for a government entity? Like, are you a teacher? Are you a nurse that could possibly be eligible for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program? Okay, so they're federal. So, okay, if they're federal, and then so any of your federal loans should qualify for this one-time debt relief. So which means the $10,000 or the $20,000 if you're a Pell Grant recipient. So start with that. And then are you working for some kind of nonprofit or a government entity? Because I do have a friend, I talk about this all the time, Raza Diva. She's on TikTok as well, where she had over $50,000 forgiven on the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And same, she had almost been paying about 20 years. 20 years. We'll just say we did a whole praise dance for her, okay? Shouting and praise dance with everything, okay? Okay, so no government entity job, okay. So yeah, so first you would want to do what I was telling Jake Mint to do, which is go on the studentaid.gov website and make sure that you're getting the alerts about when the application goes live, which should be in early October. And then once it goes live, make sure you fill that out. Make sure you have all of your income information updated. So which means either your adjusted gross income from 2020 or 2021, because that's what they'll be basing your application on. Ooh-wee. Okay, sorry if I missed your questions, guys. Let's see. Jazz Money Coach, Wisconsin, California, and Arkansas are under review. Okay, so we were talking about the different states are taxing for the Biden's forgiveness. And so Jazz Money Coach is saying Wisconsin, I think, okay, I had that one written down. So Wisconsin, California, and Arkansas are under review. Okay, so Wisconsin, we'll write that down real quick actually. California and Arkansas are under review. Thank you, Jazz Money Coach. I appreciate it. We all do. Okay, Butler Tammy. No government entity job. So yeah, so I'm thinking that right now you're only eligible for that one-time student loan debt relief, at least at this current moment. Jake Mintz, I forgot. Beside my Parent Plus loan, my daughter has $6,000. No, she should, but oh yes, Jake Mintz, she sure should apply. She sure should. So even if she's in school, out of school, and she has a $6,000 loan, she is also eligible. So each person, so you and your Parent Plus loan are eligible, and then your daughter with her $6,000 loan. Ooh, my goodness, Jake Mint, that would mean that, so if your daughter only has $6,000, that means when she'll go to studentaid.gov, she'll still fill out the application, everything just like you will. It means she'll have no loans left because the minimum is $10,000. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And so I also wonder, has she been paying student loans during the COVID suspension by chance? My brain is churning right now. Let me know, Jake Mint. So has your daughter been paying? So during the COVID suspension, so after I think it's March 13th, 2020, did she not pay during that time and just keep her payments and interest on pause? Or was she paying by chance? Because, some people were overpaying and trying to pay their loans off during that time, because there is a possibility she could receive a refund if that was the case. So you can let me know. But the answer is yes, she should apply. This new phone setup is busy. Uh-oh. Parent Plus loan, MSB Gordon, all this is... Okay, so MSB Gordon says, all this is great timing. I work for a nonprofit organization. After 10 years of employment, my loans are forgiven. Yes, that's right. So MSB Gordon is saying it's great timing for her because she works for a nonprofit organization, and after 10 years of employment, which is true, 10 years of employment or 120 payments, her loans are forgiven. So what she's talking about, guys, MSB Gordon, is the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which is my jam. So I could go on and on forever about that. But the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, you're paying 10 years or 120 payments. And there's a provision that's happening right now that ends October 31st, 2022, which, wow, now just we're in the last month. So I'll probably be doing more lives to try to get you guys to see if you want to apply and if it works for you. But during the provision, there's quite a few changes where you can have more payments count towards this 120 payments. So during this COVID suspension time, so a time when the payments are at $0, those non-payments is what I would call them, or $0 payments, count towards your 120 payments or 10 years of payments. And I'm like, that's amazing, because that's about 3 years where you didn't actually have to pay payments. So there's a few different things, and let's say, there's a few things. I could go off on a whole tangent. But if you're a teacher and you have, let's say, teacher loan forgiveness, those payments didn't count for public service loan forgiveness as well. And now they do. And also, normally you have to be at the, at the employer, working full time, or at least 30 hours a week, when you apply and receive the forgiveness normally. But under the provision that ends October 31st, 2022, you don't have to be working full time at that employer when you apply and receive student loan forgiveness. Hopefully that makes sense. But there's so many provisions. And it even used to be that on regular public service loan forgiveness, they were like, okay, the payment had to be on time. It had to be in full. And now the provisions say, we don't care if it was a partial payment. We don't care if the payment was late. They're still counting these payments. So it's a big deal. And then it used to be also that only particular loans counted on the public service loan forgiveness. So it was like income-based repayment, standard repayment plan. But now there's so many more loans, graduate extended loans that also count. So if you have not looked at the public service loan forgiveness before I get off into this long tangent, please do. MSB Gordon. All right. Uh-oh. Everyone's trying to invite themselves into the live sometime. Oop. Okay, I'm trying to catch up. Jazz Money Coach. Oh, if it was on an income-based repayment plan, you should be eligible for full taxable forgiveness. It's great news for them. It is, Jazz Money Coach. Really great news. Jake Mint, we both haven't paid anything. Okay, for the one-time student loan debt relief, from my understanding, you don't have to have started paying anything to get the one-time student loan debt relief. So please definitely make sure you apply, and then your daughter applies as well. Wow. And to think that literally she could emerge from this as a butterfly, because She could be completely free after the loan, after the forgiveness is applied. That's amazing. MSB Gordon, that's a good question. I've not stopped paying on my income-driven loans. Okay, you haven't stopped. Yes, oh my goodness, there's a few circumstances where a refund can be very helpful. Oh my gosh, I could probably go off into a whole tangent about refunds too. Okay, maybe I can tell it quickly. Let's see. Okay, so refunds. So let's talk about the biggest thing. So if you have a loan that is still active, let's say you have a $30,000 loan and you get a refund, so which means that you have been paying your student loan during the COVID suspension. And which means, let's say you get $2,000 back in a refund, but your loan is still active. It's not paid off. This refund that you just received for that $2,000 is now going to be added back to your principal balance. So what was $30,000 will now be $32,000. So you have to be very careful if you still have an active loan, okay? Because that amount, they give it as a refund, but know that it'll be added back to your principal balance, okay? So that's one circumstance. But now there are two other ones. I always have to write them down to make sure I don't confuse them. So let's give you an example. So let's say you let's say you have a balance of $7,000 and you receive, so this is actually Jake Min's similar to what I was asking you about whether your daughter had been paying during the COVID suspension, because this would be her case basically. So let's say the balance was, we'll use his $6,000 that his daughter had left. $6,000 received. $6,000 remaining balance. And then let's say that Jake Min's daughter had $2,000 refund. She'd been paying $2,000. She paid $2,000 during that COVID suspension. So let's say that now the one-time loan forgiveness is $10,000 for her. So which means that she would receive her refund for $2,000 as well as have that remaining balance of $7,000 forgiven, right? Because it's basically up to $10,000. So I hope that makes sense. So the remaining balance is forgiven and there was a refund because during that time you didn't have to pay. So your daughter didn't have to pay, but did. So you could both receive the refund and then the remaining balance is also completely forgiven. So that's another option for the refund. And then, so now MSB Gordon, the other option is, let's see. So this one is if, let's say, which I guess wouldn't pertain to you in this particular circumstance, but I still thought it was a really awesome glitch. So a young woman paid off her entire loan during the COVID suspension, paid off everything. Okay. And then, so now her loan is actually officially closed. So she found out, remember guys, she acted quickly before there was a change. She called the the Department of Education and said, so I had been hearing that, there's a possibility for me to get a refund. And remember, her loan is completely closed. And they literally told her that they wouldn't reopen her loan, but that she could call and give the loan numbers and payments and dates and everything to them. And she received a $9,700 refund, which now she's going to put towards a house. But why? Because basically they said, okay, you were paying during this COVID suspension, so between March 13, 2020 and now, and they give you a refund for that amount. So basically she received a refund for that amount. And then they told her, we'll let your account stay closed and you're quote unquote forgiven this $10,000. So instead of that amount being added back to some kind of loan balance or having her loan reopened, she was basically in the clear. The loan was completely closed still. The amount was forgiven. So basically it was a wash. And she still had $9,700 in her refund. So a few different circumstances where you could receive a refund and it really be beneficial. Woo, now I know I'm so behind on the comments now. But it was worth it to talk about the refund at MSB Gordon. Let's see. So Jake Man, we loan only because she went to university, but when COVID starts, she went to a community college. Okay. So Jake Man was saying that she went to university for a while, but then when COVID started, she went to a community college. Okay. But everything should be okay, though. She should still be able to go ahead and apply for the forgiveness, the one-time debt relief. They won't let you guys in the site. So studentaid.gov, it's probably inundated, guys. Yeah, similar to how it was a month ago when the initial announcement happened. Oh, it has to be inundated. I can only imagine. And then just this announcement from yesterday, I'm sure it's inundated. Maybe try sometime later in the weekend. Because I'm sure everybody's trying to get in there to see, okay, well, what are my loans? Is this federally held? Is it not federally held? I'm sure there are a lot of questions that people have. A little behind. Thanks, guys, for showing some love. I really appreciate it. Coming in the room and then liking and following. I really appreciate that so much. And then spending time with me, because it's probably like 11:30 at night on a Friday, talking about student loans. Let's see, something about it's for maintenance on studentaid.gov. Yeah, it could be because they're thinking, okay, there's been a big announcement, so they have to be able to basically safeguard the hits, right? Because they're going to get a lot of people coming in. And it kind of looked like last time the whole website was inundated. See, Jazz Money Coach, the waiver, is going to expire. I'm supposed to make sure you, okay, so Jazz Money Coach says, yes, but the waiver is going to expire in October, so make sure you tell your clients to fill out the form. Yeah, Jazz Money Coach, you are correct. So the provision for the public service loan forgiveness does expire in October 31st, 2022. So if you've not considered it, make sure you just go ahead and make your phone calls to the Department of Education, ask your questions to find out, is consolidating going to work for you? And a big thing will be just to possibly call the Department of Education and say, okay, or your loan servicer to say, what will my payment be if I consolidate? Because once you consolidate, you can't unconsolidate after that. It's done. And an important thing to remember, though, too, is that you also don't have to consolidate every loan that you have. And that was something that when I consolidated my loans, so I paid off about 6 figures or something like that, but I consolidated, then I refinanced, and I had no idea that I didn't have to consolidate every single loan. And you also don't have to refinance every single loan you have. You can leave some out because maybe it's a super low interest rate, or maybe you're almost done paying it off, whatever the case may be. Let's see. Jake Mint, thanks for the love. I appreciate it so much. Jazz Money Coach, if they refinance from federal to a private loan, that's another scenario that's tough. Yes, I forgot to mention that. So not only the privately held FFEL loans and the privately held Perkins loans, we were saying that those are no longer part of the one-time student loan debt relief from Biden's new announcement, but also refinance loans. I'm finding that in both cases too, Jazz Money Coach. So both this one-time student loan debt relief, I'm not seeing that refinance loans are a part of the one-time debt relief, and I don't see that you can consolidate those into a direct consolidation loan for public service loan forgiveness either. Which is hard because remember like I said, I consolidated my loans and I refinanced the loans into a low interest rate. But this was probably like 5 years ago now. Different circumstances, Let's see. But I appreciate that information too, Jazz Money Coach. Let's see. Jazz Money Coach during Freeze 9 in California. Jake Mint, you're welcome, Jake Mint. Thank you so much for sticking around and asking some questions. I appreciate that. Anybody else have questions? If you're just coming in the room, we're talking about Biden's updates. So the student loan updates and changes that were just made yesterday. And it has been that the privately held FFEL loans and Perkins loans are no longer eligible for the one-time student loan debt relief, at least right at this moment. Y'all, it might be different tomorrow. It really might be. So, and once again, when you guys hear things on TV from friends, go ahead and do your research and call the Department of Education to find out, like, hey, is this true? And if it benefits you, you got to move on it. You gotta move. Aliana. Welcome, Jason. Well, thank you for the likes. I appreciate it. I'm trying to think if I had anything else that I have chatted about or talked about. We were talking about the big dates too, the dates I want you guys to remember. So we talked about going on to studentaid.gov and asking for the alerts. So you basically say, hey, alert me when the application comes. The application for this student loan debt relief is supposed to be the beginning of October. And then the Department of Education is asking that you have your application in by November 15th, because then they can do their best to guarantee forgiveness by December 31st. So before your student loans go back into repayment status, January 1st. Any other question, guys? And I'll do my best to come back once a week or so until the end of the provision for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which is the October 31st of 2022. And then as we get more updates about this new student loan debt relief and things like that and the lawsuit, I'll try to come back so we can kind of chat about it and share some information, because I know we're all reading different articles and hearing different things and seeing different things on the news. So, but thank you guys. Whew, I'm tired. It's been a long week. So I am going to have popcorn and veg out in front of a movie. I wish you guys a really great weekend, and I will see you next week. I'll have to see what my schedule looks like to see when I can come on again, but it'll be sometime next week. Take care now. Bye, guys.